Good. All right, so I'm gonna pass the mic over to Audrey, who is going to introduce our keynote speaker. And at the risk of embarrassing Audrey a little bit, I do just want to, if we could just give, she's an undergrad student speaking in front of a room full of all sorts of really important people. That's incredible, right? So Audrey. So with that, Audrey.
Thank you, Casey. Thank you. So Troy Goodnow serves as the Sustainability Director at the University of Minnesota Morris, a Native American serving non-tribal institution. Troy was the first sustainability coordinator hired at the University of Minnesota system and state in 2006. Troy works with students, staff, faculty, and the community to develop and implement sustainability initiatives. His work has included creating new educational programs, outreach initiatives, and renewable energy projects. Troy provides leadership to the nationally recognized community partnership called the Morris Model, which was featured in the New York Times and Wall Street Journal. Troy also serves the Upper Midwest Association for Campus Sustainability, the West Central Clean Energy Resource Teams, Minnesota Climate Adaptation Partnerships, and other sustainability focus groups. During his tenure as director, Morris has earned the Second Nature Climate Leadership Award, the recognition by the Sierra Club, Princeton Review, Minnesota Environmental Initiative, and more. In 2003 and 2004, the Morris Model won the Department of Energy sponsored Energizing Rural Communities Prize. Prior to his university service, Troy spent a decade in semiconductor startup companies, leading crystal growth operations for laser development. Outside his work, Troy is an elected official to the Stevens Soil and Water Conservation District, practices Aikido, and reads boring stuff.
Well done. Oh my God, the future is in good hands, right? Audrey, you rock. So happy to be here, right? Yay, Audrey. So happy to be here today. And again, welcome to all of the city officials and university officials and students and staff and faculty and community members. I am so jazzed to be here. And when I see those names too, like Wausau, that's where I went shopping. And Marshfield, that's where I got my braces on. Nobody told you you're going to have to wear retainers for like 30 years. That's a joke. But I'm going to see my parents after this. They live in Phillips, Wisconsin. So I'm going there to spend the weekend. And I forgot my retainers, so they'll notice that. But it is a time for leadership. And it's a time to lead together. And so we know we've got to do this together, and you guys are doing that today. So this is me. I'm a child of the Northwoods. I grew up in Babbitt, Minnesota until the mines closed. And that's where I'm outside of a bookstore in Babbitt. That's my son Ely, named after the town, with a rock that my grandpa and grandpa before got pictures in front of that rock. I learned to swim there as a kid. And then the mines closed, we moved to northern Wisconsin. And that was quite a place to grow up. And so I feel so at home in the Northwoods, and this is always coming home. So I'm glad to be here. This is where I live now. And I live in west central Minnesota at the far edge. It's hardly a drive at all to get to North Dakota or South Dakota. It's corn and beans from horizon to horizon. The poet Bill Holm talked about the horizontal grandeur of the prairie. That's a very hot Troy in a cornfield walking out there. That's what it's like, and that's right outside my door. Like literally just a few feet outside my door, I'm already in corn country. A much different place, but an important place. I'm really excited to hear that you guys are framing this work and really thinking about your work through the lens of sustainability and the SDGs. I just got back from Germany. I can tell you, our international friends, this is the conversation they're having. And so when people are like, what is sustainability and what does it mean? You guys are already using framing that helps us talk about this big topic, right? And we could talk at length about what goes in the sustainability stew. But clearly, we don't want poverty, we don't want hunger, we want good health and education and wellness, and we know that kids don't learn if they're hungry, right? So these things are interrelated. You guys are on it. I also want to point out, you guys are doing what excellent organizations do. So, like, this is very exciting. The University of Minnesota system is also doing climate action planning, as are campuses all around the country. Morris is last. We're in the midst of this timeline, so we're doing what you're doing. We're talking, we're visiting, and we're preparing our report as well. So this is just what excellent institutions do. And again, a shout out to your leadership, all the way through from your chancellor to your vice chancellor to your awesome sustainability office. What a crew. This is what excellent organizations do. So why are we doing it? Purpose. I loved that purpose. What is the tagline you had this morning? Purpose on practice. Purpose made possible. Rock on. Purpose. And this is the question I ask every time I meet with students. The question is, what is the purpose of what we're doing? First question, can they give me the elevator response? And for where I live in Minnesota, this is new data coming out of hundreds of hours of the University of Minnesota supercomputer. We have downscaled climate modeling in Minnesota. What I can tell you is, on average, by the end of the century, given this projection, the number of days that will exceed 90 degrees Fahrenheit will increase 61 days. That isn't Minnesota anymore, right? And so, okay, we all know a little bit of the purpose, the context, but it's important, I think, just to kind of still reference, why are we doing this? And this is one of my climate heroes. This is Dr. Heidi Roop. She leads the Minnesota Climate Adaptation Partnership, who developed that tool. She was so concerned about, this climate stuff, she wrote a book on it. So if you haven't seen the Climate Action Handbook, I recommend it, 100 Climate Solutions. But it's just a reminder that the work we're doing is both personal. Of course, there's actions we take at the personal level. But we're also taking actions at the organizational level, which is why today feels so good, right? When we do this together, we can do a lot more. I also used the tool in a way I wasn't probably supposed to, so don't tell Heidi, but I did. I think I can extend it below those borders, and I did the same projection on this point as Stephen's point, and you guys are projected to go up about 45 days, 46 days more above 90 degree Fahrenheit. So again, these tools should be available for every state, but that just sets the context of we've got work to do. In May 2022, derecho hit Morris. That's my house. That's the tree on the house. That's the giant pine tree in the front yard sitting in the middle of the elm. We were down in the basement. This was scary. And this is our new climate reality. These trees stood for 100 years. Something's changing. The newspaper a few weeks ago said we have the largest hail we've ever, this was right before winter, the largest hail we'd ever seen in Morris. And in 2019, I think you guys had a similar event. I have to tell you too, my mom texted me, said, Troy, you're going to Stevens Point. Did you know that their electricity went off? Thanks, Mom. I appreciate it. She's thinking about me. But it's also important to realize that, and I hope this group does, the world has changed in the last 15, 20 years. I've never been more hopeful. Basically, we have, to quote the line from Ghostbusters, we have the tools, we have the talent, it's Milla time, right? And that's 100% true. So I could regale you with slides that show the price of solar dropped, the price of wind has dropped, the price of energy storage is dropping. It's all dropping. Why? Because we're just doing the same thing we do when we innovate, right? So in Minnesota, it's kind of trendy to say things are spendy. Like if you want to seem smart, you're like, what's a little spendy? Yeah, everything's spendy. VCRs were spendy, and laser discs, and calculators, and mobile phones, and we do the same thing, and then they're not spendy, and that's what we did. And so electric cars, yeah, they're a little spendy right now, but guess what? They're not going to be spendy in a few days. It's just that's how innovation works. Now, I think it's you guys showed this morning that you guys are also a signatory to the Second Nature Climate Commitment. So again, this is where leadership really matters. And so you guys signed this commitment the Morris campus has. This is something that sometimes these commitments help prompt our leadership, and sometimes our leadership prompts us to basically take some action. So here we are. We're all committed to carbon neutrality and doing resilience planning with our community. And that's part of the commitment, doing resilience planning with our community, with our cities, in our region. And I think that's a reason why a lot of people didn't sign that full commitment, because it's like, oh man, that seems like a lot more work to do what we're doing here, engaging with the community. So you guys rock. You're doing the work here. But also, we want to attract our students. Our students are looking to go to a place that is actually taking action. So this is from the Washington Post. It's, basically it says University of Minnesota at Morris moves with the wind, but it's about choosing a climate-friendly college. So we know that our students are looking to go to places that resonate with their values and are putting purpose into practice and reflecting their ideals and not doom and gloom. They're doing stuff, right? They don't want to be told we can't do stuff. And so that's just another example of, in the Star Tribune, they picked up another article, students can consider colleges with climate in mind. So again, even 20 years ago, remember those of us who were around 20 years ago, the polar bears on an ice floe and all that stuff, right? So we saw it, but that wasn't the end of our story. We've written a new narrative, right, by the work that we've been doing the last 20 years. And so what I want to reflect with you on is, I want to show a bit of a story of 20 years of effort. So we've been at it a long time. You guys have been at it, a decade. Like, oh my gosh, you guys are kicking butt. Where are you guys going to be in 10 years from now? And so we're not done in Morris. We're just getting started. But I want to share a little bit about what have we been up to the last 20 years, and how are we doing it with our community, with our city and others. This is what it looks like. You'll notice those trees are all planted. This was all tall grass prairie 100 and so years ago, but this is where I live now. One of the main goals that I have for our campus is to be a place where first things happen. I want, when people step onto campus, and when I say I want that, we want that. I just get to represent a team of amazing people, but when people come to our campus, a lot of people say, Troy, and again, this is feels very good because I know it represents the hard work of many people on my campus. Troy, it feels like we stepped onto the future or entered the future for a little bit. Don't we all want that when people come to our campus to say, I caught a little bit of a glimpse of the future when I went to Stevens Point today. You should see what they're doing. Holy cows. And that's what I hope that visitors feel when they come to the Morris campus. And using the resources we have. It's windy in Morris. 20 years ago, there weren't wind turbines, but it was still windy. 20 years ago, there weren't solar panels, but it was still sunny. And so here we are, right? We've got wind and solar and green buildings, and this is a solar thermal. You can probably recognize that's a solar thermal system on the top right. Just like you guys have solar thermal on your residence halls at UW Stevens Point, right? I loved that comment about communications earlier. I just think that's another area where we've got to step up our game in Morris. So it's just clear, right? You walk around, and signage is so important, and that messaging is so important. We have an agrivoltaic array, so cows, that's something, we've got a lot of cows in our region, and so the cows like the shade just like Finlanders do. And I love to go under the shade like the cows, and we think that's one of the largest agrivoltaic arrays in the upper Midwest serving cows. And then so our students went down to compost school. Imagine, these students went down to Iowa with these salty facility dogs, and I love our salty facility dog, but they went down with our facilities managers 10 years ago to compost school, came back, built a tipping and mixing area, and diverted more than 1 million pounds of food scraps from the landfill. That count, right? And that was precipitated because students said Troy and others, but they came and they said, Troy, Lowell, our Vice Chancellor, Jackie Johnson, our amazing President, Chancellor, Jackie Johnson, a decade ago said, hey, we're doing some good stuff on the electricity, or on the clean energy stuff, but it seems like our zero waste game maybe could get stepped up a bit. They were right. It could have been stepped up a bit. And so And my understanding is you guys were one of the first in the system at UW-Stevens Point to have composting all across your campus, right? Yeah? Rock on, right? And so all of that requires buy-in and support from all the various actors and people on our campuses. And that's what those things look like in Morris. Okay, so, and I'm excited to say that, after all this, now we're carbon neutral in electricity at Morris. So those two turbines provide 60% of our electricity. We installed one of the first level 2 charging stations in our region. Again, this is it's not even a fast charger. There wasn't even like a level 2 charger. This is in frequent usage. Our partner across the hill, the West Central Research and Outreach Center, installed the first fast charger in West Central Minnesota. Again, so you might, and then, and so there's more to this story as it goes on. Right now, because we overproduce a lot of electrons, we're really getting into energy storage. So we installed a 90 kilowatt hour lithium iron phosphate battery on campus to kind of start thinking about storage. We're working with our utility right now to install a 1 megawatt flow battery on the campus because we harvest things in western Minnesota like corn, so why not put electrons in a bucket? And we use 3 times more energy for heating than all of our electricity. So the elephant in the room is, we know my toilet wouldn't flush the other day, there was ice in the sewer line, and then our boiler broke twice, and so it is hard living in the north where we live, right? So we're actually in the process of exploring a thermal energy battery to take electrons, put it into a box of bricks, and make steam for our heating. So we've been able to cut our carbon footprint by half over this last 2 decades or so. Sounds like what did you say this morning? 49%. So there you go. We did it. And it's so nice to have friends to know we've done this together. So we have more to do, right? We have more to do, but let's take a moment to seriously celebrate where we've arrived. So exciting to see you guys are doing resilience planning. We've been doing this for a while, thinking about extreme weather. Even back in 2015, we were having community conversations about this, about extreme weather planning. More recently, we developed a community resilience workshop, kind of like what you guys are doing here, bringing people together. We work with the Nature Conservancy on that. You're doing that here. And then because the snowball's rolling right along, it's kind of fun. We've gotten some national recognition. This is from the New York Times, and this quote is kind of funny because I'm going to read it. It says, Mike Reese, the director of the Renewable Energy Center at Morris, said, this is the Research and Outreach Center, said it didn't matter that he had political disagreements with Troy Goodnow, the sustainability director at Morris. Troy's on the more liberal side, I'm on the more conservative side, Mr. Reese said, but we also share the same philosophies when it comes to changing climate, resiliency, but especially on generating wealth and making our community better for the next generations. Exactly, that's it. There really isn't more to say. We agree, we got to make our place the best place to live possible. And so I want to talk just for those last few minutes about something called the Morris model. And, we've really tried to extend the work of our campus out into the community. We've been invited to do that. And so we want to do that. And so a lot of the work we do follows these phases of relationship building, assessment, planning, and action. And so it's important to know what phase of work you're in, but and what kind of language we use. And so we've been very intentional in our community engagement work of not using language that divides people. So it's not that I don't think climate change is important, I just don't talk about it. Okay, so the Morris model. The Morris model is the name of our community partnership. It's between the campus, the city, the county, the school district, the hospital. We actually get together in person and on Zoom, and we visit, and we say, hey, how's your project going? Not so good. How's yours? Going better. All right. And we started our focus on a couple key areas around energy conservation, clean energy, community resilience. Notice I didn't say climate adaptation. Community resilience, cultural exchange, and celebration. And we've done a lot more since then. Okay, but I'm really excited because cities are the epicenters of this action. Like, you got good mayors, you got good city managers, you got good city councils. What's happening here is spot on. We working together. So those are some of the goals we had, and we do this work intergenerationally with students. So this is really important. And I know that here, your Office of Sustainability is student-run. There are student positions in student government. There are student sustainability positions in athletics. So I just want to keep encouraging you to do that intergenerational work. In Minnesota, some of our story goes back to, we had something called the Green Step Cities program. We got our city engaged with that. That's I don't know if you have a similar program in Wisconsin. Our city administrator came and said, how would we do LED lighting on Main Street? Because he saw it on campus. So we worked with the city manager to do a third-party financing model to put LED lighting on Main Street, which then eventually the utility picked it up and then finally did it across the town. But it was that project, on campus and in the city that mattered first. So we call ourselves the Morris Model, morrismodel.org. We even branded ourselves. A student made a logo for us. We have a resource center that you can find some of our documents there. We got together, much like a group like this, and we just brainstormed 100 actions we could do. Like, it wasn't hard. You get together with folks, immediately, 100 ideas of things we could do. So we started working on those, and we've completed a good chunk of those. Then after that part, I just want to mention some of the things that we came up with, like, how about we just do some community education? What would happen if we had an event at the movie theater and asked the mayor to come in and talk about the good stuff, and we could show something that maybe wouldn't normally be shown in town? This is now a county-wide compost system. So the city saw what we were doing, and county saw what we were doing, which they thought probably wasn't possible, and now we have a county-wide composting system in Morris. And those are some students and researchers standing on the pile with me. Students on campus said, electric biking. What if we put electric bikes at the fitness center? Wouldn't that be cool? Because then people could learn how to use electric bikes. So now people can go on an electric bike date. We kept talking to the utility about what if we had fast chargers downtown so people could eat Mexican. And so we just stayed on that utility. Now we got fast chargers, right? We had a conversation with Solar United Neighbors about what if we put solar on residences? So now we've got solar on people's residences. We talked to the school district constantly about, do you want to participate in the Solar for Schools program? Now we've got solar on the building that powers the 2 electric buses that the school district got. And we've done all this work with students. Those are 2 students holding this award. The intergenerational work really matters. And we developed a strategic plan. We took our friends to a camp, to a military base, locked the door, and came up with a strategic plan where we decided we were going to make energy in our county. We were going to reduce waste. We were going to end landfilling in the county. And these are goals we're still working on. And we're still doing strategic planning, just like what you guys are doing here. This is not ended. It's still ongoing. And I'm really pleased to see it. This is our former city manager and our mayor getting recognized in our state for doing this work. So this is the celebration piece, lifting up people for what they're doing. And lastly, I just want to say, we're getting inspiration. Our city, the city of Morris is getting inspiration internationally. So this is our former city mayor signing a cooperation agreement with Saarbrück, Germany. They're a town of 7,000, agricultural. They make 400% more energy than their community needs with wind, solar, biogas, composting, and more. And my understanding is your city, Stevens Point, has sister cities in Nicaragua and Poland and Russia as well. And so just drawing inspiration from others, there's what it looks like in Saarbrück, Germany. And this is outside their biomass plant, right in downtown. It's totally educational. And because we saw this, we put signage all across town now of Morris so people can learn more. So German interns are coming to our campus and spending 5 months. And we've continued to apply for awards. I saw the Green Ribbon School Awards in the hall. This is part of that celebration piece about not putting our light under a bushel. We're Midwesterners. We feel like we can't say we did. No, we can say we did good things. And so we won both the Rural Prize #1 and #2. And there's a video that maybe Dave can share with you guys to check out some of this work. But that was a whirlwind. But the goal is to say, you're on the right track. We're not done in Morris. We're not even close to being done. This is the work that sustainability isn't like a destination, right? It's like it's an ongoing thing that we do together. And so it's not done. It's a process. And it's a process of getting together just like this, feeling good together, and doing solutions together. And so I'm just really proud of you guys. I'm really excited to know that there are friends doing this work. And we got to do this with fun, right? And we've been encouraged to do this with joy and with solutions. And I think all of us don't need more to hear why we can't do things. We need to hear what we can do. So thank you for that.
Troy, you ready for some Q&A?
If I'm between us and lunch, so.
Well, then we'll see how hungry people are, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that you're attracting students and that they're really getting the feel for the campus. I'm wondering if you've done any follow-up with alumni to know how has that persisted? I'm here. How has that persisted, and like, what are you seeing? What are you seeing with alumni as far as what you're creating with the student body as it moves forward?
Oh man, I'm so happy you asked that, because that's our product, right? You nailed it. And no, our alumni are leading. They're leading in the state. The compost program got going because of one of our alums. And my understanding is you have a compost program, a voluntary program in your community, Bucket Ruckus, right? That is a voluntary program by one of your pointers, right? So your alumni are out there kicking butt too. This is the joyful part of this tracking, and then for us to figure out how we track our alumni successes. But we see this across the state. One of our alums is the head of the energy department at the city of Minneapolis, the last Morris Model Coordinator, because we got money to fund a Morris Model Coordinator. They were lured away. So Griffin, they were lured away by our Regional Initiative Foundation to basically replicate the Morris model across the region. So we're hiring. It'd be fun to have a recently graduated undergraduate to come to Morris. No, thank you for reminding us of our purpose too.
Great.
I have a question. You are obviously a large agricultural community, as we are. And in the past here in the Stevens Point, Portage County, there has been a lot of friction when they talked about water and water usage and the wells and the watering systems. But I really feel like that we could collaborate even more with our farming community here, because we have some very large farms that make, that grow all the corn for Frito-Lay or
Right.
the potatoes. How do you collaborate with the farming community without them saying, I think we're going to have to get out of this here, that you're trying to stop us from doing something? How do you get that buy-in? Because I think we have an untapped potential with our farming community here to grow sustainability with them.
That's boy, you guys got great questions. So that's another great question. So this is one we could unpack also for a long time. I guess what I would just say quick is, I think that sometimes none of us like to be blamed, or we all want to be the hero, and we live our lives through stories, right? And we don't want the story of what we're doing to be one of, you're the bad guy. So I think what I'm really trying to do, when I say the team I get to work with, what we are collectively committed to, I think, is trying to not blame people, but instead to talk about what are solutions we can do together, how do you contribute to that, right? To invite them to do the relationship building, to invite them to meetings where we're actually lifting up what they're doing and saying, oh, good job, like, we're really glad you're doing that, right? And then it opens the door for some trust and space to say, what if we tried these things? Or here are some of our concerns. But I feel like when I go to public meetings, oftentimes the first response is a lot of my farming friends feel like they're being blamed immediately. And so I try to turn down that temperature and be like, that's not, what can we do together? Last thing I would say is, one of the key framing pieces for our Morris model work is what you saw in that New York Times article, which is how do we bring and build local wealth in our community with on-site resources, meaning with our own resources, right? So to not try to, every dollar we spend in energy leaves Minnesota. There's no coal, no oil, no natural gas in Minnesota. Is there in Wisconsin? Exactamundo, right? So everything we're spending just leaves. So anyway, so I think they can be here. Landowners and farmers can be heroes in this.
Other questions?
Okay, I'll go quick. So you talked a lot about relationship building with your community and like some of the projects that the university helped get going in other parts of your community, like the school buses for the school district and et cetera.
Yeah.
Like who within the university would take ownership of that relationship building? Is it your office, or does it happen throughout the campus, or is it leadership? Like how do you get those relationships built with other parts of your community? Where does that start?
Yeah, great question. So, the quick nutshell is the Morris model, right? The Morris model is just a framing device. It's like, you have a team. What should we call our team? Let's call ourselves the Morris model. And the Morris model framing is both saying to ourselves, we are a model, and you don't get to say you're a model if you don't keep doing stuff, right? So it's kind of like a little, but our team is the conduit by inviting people into that conversation. So we go and visit with the facilities team at the school occasionally, or we invite the superintendent to visit with us, even if there's nothing going on, just to try to keep those dialogues going. And so it was a student who actually wrote the grant for the 2 electric buses, but in relationship with the amazing bus director, and she said, like, okay, I'm willing. It's free money, right? But it's an investment by the state of Minnesota to see if electric busing works in rural places. They were looking for a community to try, and this is the key thing, right? Is we get contacted because people say, Morris, you guys seem like a place that tries things. How about some money? We could use more. Absolutely.
So thank you, and I'm sure that's a big reason why things are as great as what they are with all of us, right?
Right. That's right. That's right. We're doing this together. That's right. Yeah.
Grew up in Elbow Lake, Minnesota. I'm a 1980 graduate from University of Minnesota Morris. So
yay!
I am one of your proud alumni, and it's been fun through the years to be able to see the things that comes out of the University of Minnesota Morris, and this is just another example, and it's exciting to be part. I've been fortunate enough to be in some pretty progressive communities. I was up in Washburn for 19 years in northern Wisconsin, like you were, and that was one of the first EQ municipality in the United States.
Yeah.
And then had a chance to come down, and I was a superintendent out at Rothschild for 9 years.
Yeah.
Retired here in Stevens Point because of all the good things that happen in Stevens Point. And so I thank you for everything you're doing, and thank you for helping us do what start on our journey here. So
thanks for the kind words and for your leadership and for sharing that. No, that's wonderful.
We got time for maybe one more.
Inspiring. They're
hungry for lunch, I think.
Hey,
Yeah.
you guys, I can't stress enough that you guys are on the path. Our cities are on the path. It requires working together across institutions. This subnational thing that people talk about, right, is there are things set in motion that don't require the federal government. I mean, the federal government helps, but there are so many things we can do now, and the time to act is now, and doing it together. I mean, it sounds platitudinous, but it's so true. We can do more together. So thanks for letting me be a part of your special day. And all right, we're moving on. Michelle, come on up. Thank you, Michelle.
I just have a couple slides with some information about how to stay involved and up to date in the future. So I want to say again, thank you, Troy. That was amazing. I think obviously relates to what we've been doing and the type of engagement we're trying to have. I'm thinking, you know, we had this last meeting a year ago, and just personally, even how many conversations I've had on campus and in the community, and I'm sure you can all say the same as well. And on that note, I kind of want to just challenge you all to do a few things to stay involved. So when you leave today, whether you're going back to your office or back into your community, I would really like you to tell one person about this event and about our Climate Action Resilience Plan and what we're doing. The session just now was being live streamed. It will also be recorded on YouTube, and our opening presentation would also be available on YouTube. So if you have somebody that is working on and interested in this kind of stuff, kind of on a related level, that would be a really great resource to share with a friend or a colleague. We are also, the UWSP Office of Sustainability is pretty active on Facebook and Instagram, so if you aren't already following us, you can use those QR codes to stay up to date. And then the next thing I just want you to be able to do before lunch is participate in our post-event survey. This is a relatively brief survey, but we are asking you to reflect on some of the projects that we've discussed and some of like the prioritizations that we discussed. And then we're also asking people that if you are not already on a working group for this project, but you might have gotten hopefully interested in some of the projects we're working on, there's an option on the post-event survey to indicate some interest in a working group, as well as just kind of pose a question to us or provide some feedback and your contact information so that we can follow up with you. But that is all we have. So once you're able to complete that post-event survey, we do have the networking lunch, which the intention is that you stick around and kind of debrief and have conversations and make connections and plan some next steps. I know that some of you are all in working groups together, so this would be a really good time to connect together in that way. But we hope you enjoyed your day and enjoy your lunch. Thank you.